Allah is always a witness. قُلْ كَفَى بِاللَّهِ بَيْنِي وَبَيْنَكُمْ شَهِيدًا يَعْلَمُ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Nothing is lost from Him. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِالْبَاطِلِ. We are supposed to do what? آمَنُوا بِالْحَقِّ. But the Qur'an tells us, وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِالْبَاطِلِ. And those, instead of securing and finding peace and finding solace and being trustees of al-haq, have ended up being the opposite. They've ended up being what? Trustees of batil. Trustees of what is false. They secure what is false in their life on a daily basis. They secure that in their family life, in their social life, with all the energies. Then Allah gave you and me an example of what happens. أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْخَاسِرُونَ. They are what? They are losers. We can look at ourselves. And you do the math for your own self. I can't do your math. I don't know your life enough. I will do wrong. And that will be good. And you can't do my math. You could never do my math because you don't know my life. But we can see our own lives being displayed in the world stage of human societies. Do you see the Muslims are successful? Who do you think is the cause for this? Allah? You think all these superpowers is the cause for this? You can fool people to tell them that. We are the cause of our own downfall. We are the cause of not being leaders for our children. Take all the mothers and fathers and put them against the wall and see how much their children have learned loftiness from them. If I don't teach my children loftiness, they will go to somebody else. That's a fact of life. And because we have failed to become leaders of life for our own children, the average child of the average Muslim home has leadership outside. Because the leadership is not the book of Allah, the book of Haqq. The average Muslim child is mad with everything other than the book of Allah. And you can go, not only in Canada, you can go to all these glorious, glorified Muslim countries. And the story of life will hit you and me on the face. So what Allah says, if you don't have time to secure the truth, but you spend your energy to secure what is false, what has no foundation, what is not tenable, what is not realistic, what is not correct, what is not practical, then this is what's going to happen to you. You will be the losers. And we should look at the Muslims all over the world and see which societies you and I want to follow. Which societies you and I can stand up here in Canada and say we should take the Muslims of this part of the world because they are a beautiful example of conduct. Uswatun Hasana. They're a beautiful example. You want to know where is this God that Muslims are calling on this God every day, 5 times a day or more. They don't stop making dua. But dua doesn't change if it is just smoke screen. It is just empty words. It's like what we tell one another from the time we were small. We tell one another, all the Muslims are brothers. Don't we say that? All Muslims are brothers and sisters. Where is the brotherhood? Deal with the Muslims and you know where is the brotherhood and where is the sisterhood. We are accustomed, we were politicized very early in our lives. The societies we came from, to hear lots of political slogans and not to see concrete evidence of it. How do brothers and sisters treat one another? With tremendous feelings, with tremendous love, with tremendous care, with tremendous sacrifice, with tremendous consideration. Not trying to undercut and destroy one another. And you can see generally where Muslims live, there is more evidence that they are enemies. then evidence that they are real brothers and sisters. Because the word ikhwa in the Arabic language doesn't mean brothers and sisters. The word ikhwa in the Arabic language, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةً, in chapter 49 verse 10, Surah Al-Hujarat, what is ikhwa? The Arabs, when their camels will come home in the afternoon or in the evening, they would drive a big pole in the ground. They will drive a big pole in the ground and they will tie each camel to that pole. That is ikhwa bil-lughat al-Arabiyyah. That is ikhwa, where all the camels, they have a common bond. Their limits and their elasticity is all connected there. Today, for most people, there might be few exceptions, this word ikhwa is kalam farigh. It's a useless word that doesn't have any real basis. Because why? We have lost the essence of almost everything, and what we are fetching is something that is empty, that cannot really enhance it. Because of time, I will just introduce the topic. Because there are millions of Muslims right now who are actually in Mecca, Saudi Arabia, or on their way to get there. And you and I were brought up our whole life. And there's no shortage of the information that is being conveyed to us in Canada and elsewhere in the world about the institution of Hajj. But I want you to ask yourself and meet people who have been to Hajj and deal with all those who are planning to go to Hajj. What is this Hajj that Muslims do every year in Saudi Arabia? What does it really mean in terms of the reality of the guidance of Allah? I have no authority, and I don't intend to, even if I had. Nobody can deny the fact that Allah in chapter 22 verse 27, Surah Al-Hajj, asks that this invitation for Hajj should become public. But be honest to yourself. All those who have been and those who are contemplating to go, what do you acquire and achieve by just going around a building, by just running up and down two hills, by pelting at concrete structures which you call devils, and slaughtering all these animals? I could understand for the masses, this is what they are told by 99.99% of their scholars. What I can tell you is that if you look at the societies where all these people who spend billions of dollars, and go there for an emotional trip, for a traditional trip, for a cultural trip, the question is, what in the Hajj is really haqq, and what in the Hajj is really batil? That is for you to want to find out and to research. It is easy for us to point fingers at others. And I remember only recently, a matter was brought to my attention where somebody of status stood up and said, you know, the Hindus, they worship idols. And I know the hatred that exists between people who are side by side, that exists between, for example, the nations of Pakistan and the nation of India.